Hi there. Welcome to Theory of the Firm, the start of year 13 micro. For those of you who've watched some of my videos before, then this isn't the usual eye of mine. This came from my attempt 2 days ago to pull a fence post out of the ground, which came out a bit more quickly than I expected. It's like boom. Anyway. I'll be making these over the next few days, so you can see how quickly it takes for a black eye to heal. Anyway, so theory of the firm is kind of what it sounds like. Really, it's the theory of how firms behave. So obviously we're going to attempt to bring in the real world as much as possible, but underlying it, this is a neoclassical theory, which is based on businesses kind of probably 200 years ago, where what you tended to have was small businesses, usually owned by the person who started them, often selling a very narrow range of products, often only one. So when you're thinking about theory of the firm, what you're often thinking about is kind of a simple factory or something from the 19th century that makes cotton or something, because that was the era in which this model was developed. So what we're trying to do, the idea of theory of the firm really, is we're trying to predict firms' behaviour. So what is it that we think that firms are going to do? In terms of what sort of price they're likely to charge, what's going to determine the output that they're going to produce, what's going to determine whether or not they're going to be efficient, and what does efficiency even mean in the context of a firm, what sort of strategies might they use, depending on the type of market in which they operate. So, and again, what we're looking at is initially, what are they going to do in theory with their price, their output, their efficiency, and their strategies. So, this being a neoclassical theory, we've got to make some assumptions, and in particular, we're going to make some assumptions about, well, there's kind of two key assumptions. Firstly is, what is it these firms are trying to do? The first assumption that we're going to make is that they're going to maximize their profits. That's not an unreasonable assumption. That's something that we'll examine kind of later as we go. But the idea that we're going to maximize the return from starting a business, that probably makes sense. And profits, they're made up of two elements. On the one hand, the firm's revenue. That's money in. We looked at that last year. For a single product firm, that's pretty simple. It's the price of what you sell times the number of units that you sell. Price times quantity. But obviously, you don't get to make things for nothing. So therefore, we also have to subtract costs. So revenue minus costs. So if we take revenue, we take away those costs. Then that equals the firm's profits. And again, so revenue minus costs equals profits. Exactly what we mean by profits, again, is something we're going to return to, because there are different ways in which you might see that. There are different types of costs and so on. But in terms of what we're trying to do, we're trying to analyse how a firm behaves. And the first big assumption we're going to make is that a firm wants to make profits. The second assumption we're going to make for now is that we have a single product firm. So the firm is just selling, is making and selling, selling one thing. It makes and sells shoes. It makes and sells cotton. It makes and sells, I don't know, knives or something. And again, what that allows us to do is to understand revenue as price times quantity. It allows us to think about the firm's profit maximizing output and so on and so forth. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to build a model of this firm. And to do that, we need to understand its costs, its revenues, its profits, and what it's going to, therefore, kind of what its decision-making framework is going to be. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put that firm, having built a model of it, we're going to put it into a range of different market structures. And market structures basically tell us how competitive a market is. At one end, if we imagine a continuum, at one end of the continuum where we have the least competitive market structure, that's going to be a monopoly because there's only one firm. It's pretty simple. Yeah. If we look at the most competitive market structure, that's something that we're going to invent. We're going to create a structure that's totally price competitive. Again, we're going to make some assumptions, and that's going to be perfect competition. So, what is theory of the firm all about? What it's about is building a model of a firm to try to look at what it's going to do, what its output's going to be, what its price is going to be, how it's going to behave in terms of efficiency and strategy. To do that, we need to make some assumptions about what it's going to do, and the big one is we're going to assume that that firm wants to maximize its profits. Having done that, we're then going to put it into a range of different competitive situations to look at how that firm will behave in theory to a range of different types